Falmouth is one of those cruise ports that looks simple on paper, but catches people out on the day. Is it a tender port? How long does it actually take to get ashore? And is it really worth booking a long Cornwall excursion? Or is staying local the better option? I visited Falmouth on a British Isles cruise aboard Regal Princess, and it's a port I think a lot of people misunderstand. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through the 10 things you genuinely need to know before you arrive. Before you plan anything in Falmouth, you need to understand how you actually get ashore. Falmouth is often a tender port, which means your ship anchors out in the harbour and you take a small boat into town. Falmouth sits in one of the largest natural harbours in the world, which is why big ships anchor rather than dock. On most cruises, the tender process works using numbered tickets with allocated time windows, which you collect on board. This helps manage the flow of people getting ashore and keeps things organised. It's also normal for passengers who have booked ship-run shore excursions to be given priority tender access, as their tours are operating to a fixed schedule. Independent passengers follow shortly after, and going earlier in the morning usually means a much smoother experience. To use the tender, you need to be able to step from the ship onto a small boat with crew assistance. The process is well organised and supervised, but it does involve a step down, and the boat can move slightly with the water. This is where expectations really matter. You'll often hear people say, the tender only takes 10 minutes. But in reality, that's rarely the full story. The tender ride took around 20 to 30 minutes. And it's actually a lovely approach, especially as you pass Pendennis Castle guarding the harbour. The ride itself might be quicker one way and slower the other. And queues can build later in the afternoon when everyone has the same idea about heading back. On my return to the ship, the tender was noticeably bumpier than on the way in, and slower too. So if you're prone to seasickness, or you're planning to return close to all aboard, give yourself extra time and don't leave it until the last minute. Falmouth is not a big, purpose-built cruise terminal, and that's part of its charm. When you arrive ashore, you won't find a huge building. Instead, there are a few welcome tents, local stalls, and often an RNLI stand, which is well worth supporting. On some days, you'll even be greeted by a town crier, which feels very traditional and very British. There's usually free Wi-Fi near the welcome area, tourist information staff on hand, and everything is clearly signposted. It's simple, friendly, and far more relaxed than many larger European ports. Getting into town is much easier than many people expect. Once ashore, you have two easy options. There's a free shuttle bus that runs into the town centre and drops you near the marina. It only takes a couple of minutes and is ideal if you don't fancy walking. Alternatively, you can walk into town in around 10 minutes. I chose to walk, and it felt perfectly safe, straightforward, and a nice way to stretch your legs after being on the ship. Either way, you're in the heart of Falmouth very quickly. This is one of the most important things to understand about Falmouth. Falmouth itself is one of the easiest British Isles ports to explore independently. And that's worth knowing before you even leave the ship. You don't need transport, pre-booked plans, or a tightly structured itinerary to have a good day here. If you're looking for a calm, low-stress port where you can simply get off the ship and see where the day takes you, Falmouth is absolutely ideal for staying local. This is where Falmouth really surprises people. Within a very short distance of where the tender drops you off, you've got a mix of town, coastline, and history that works beautifully for a relaxed port day. The town centre itself is compact and easy to explore, with independent shops, cafes, and plenty of places to stop for lunch by the water. One thing people don't always realise is that Falmouth also has proper beaches within walking distance. You can easily wander down towards the seafront and enjoy coastal views, fresh air, and a slower pace, especially if the weather is kind. It's a great option if you don't want a packed itinerary and just want to enjoy being by the sea. If you want something a bit more structured, the National Maritime Museum Cornwall sits right by the marina and is an easy visit without committing your whole day. And for views across the harbour, Pendennis Castle is nearby, though it's worth knowing the walk up is steep and mostly uphill, so a taxi can be a sensible choice. This is one of those ports where you don't need transport or long journeys to feel like you've really experienced the place. There are some stunning shore excursion options from Falmouth, but distance and travel time matter more here than most ports. Falmouth is often described as a gateway to Cornwall, and that's true, but Cornwall is large, rural, and slow to get around. Roads are narrow, distances are longer than they look on a map, and travel time adds up very quickly on a cruise day. Popular shore excursions from Falmouth include trips to St Ives, Land's End, and St Michael's Mount. These are all beautiful places, but they are not close. In most cases, you're looking at long coach journeys each way, with relatively short stops once you arrive. There are also garden-based excursions, such as Traber Garden or the Lost Gardens of Heligan. So yes, shore excursions from Falmouth can be worthwhile, but only if you go in with realistic expectations about how much of the day will be taken up by transport. This is one of the most common questions people have about Falmouth, and this decision comes down to risk, not just distance. On a cruise day, the question isn't just whether you can reach places like Land's End or St Michael's Mount. It's how much margin you have if something doesn't go to plan. Tender timing, traffic, and weather all play a bigger role here than people expect. It is technically possible to reach these places on your own, but it's not straightforward. You're dealing with long travel times each way, limited time once you arrive, and very little flexibility if tenders are delayed or the weather changes. If those are a must-see for you, then a ship-run shore excursion is usually the best way to do it, because it takes the timing risk out of the day. Cornwall often feels milder than the rest of the UK, but the weather can still change quickly. Thanks to the Gulf Stream and being surrounded by the sea, Cornwall is generally milder and warmer than much of the UK, especially compared to inland areas. In summer, temperatures are comfortable rather than hot, often sitting in the mid-teens to high teens, which makes walking around Falmouth far more enjoyable than many Mediterranean ports. That said, this is still a temperate coastal climate, not tropical, and Cornwall is also one of the wetter parts of the UK. What that means in practice is this: it can feel warm one minute and breezy or showery the next, especially near the coast. A light waterproof or windproof layer makes a big difference, even on days that start out sunny. Comfortable shoes are also important here. Falmouth itself is easy to walk, but some areas are hilly and uneven, and places like Pendennis Castle involve a steady uphill walk. Falmouth isn't a port that needs a packed plan or a long checklist. It's a place where doing something very simple often gives you the best day. Picking up a Cornish pasty, finding a spot by the harbour, and sitting to watch the boats coming and going can genuinely be the highlight. That matters even more when you look at the wider itinerary. On a British and Irish cruise, ports like Dublin and Belfast are much busier, with bigger crowds, longer transport journeys, and more planning involved. Falmouth is the opposite. If you treat it as a chance to slow the pace, enjoy the sea air, and have a relaxed day without rushing from place to place, it works beautifully. This is one of those ports where making the most of the calm is exactly the right approach. So now you know exactly how Falmouth Cruise Port really works, and how to plan a day that feels relaxed rather than rushed. If you're cruising the British Isles, this isn't the only port that works differently. Watch my 10 things you need to know about a British and Irish cruise next. It's on screen now.